Paper Cuts faithful, it is I, the wayward son, the Vestlord. Before we reboot into the Between Two Panels universe, I'd like to take a moment to firstly thank everyone that's been supportive of getting a comics podcast going again. While it's not exactly the same craziness and format as Paper Cuts, Nick and I hope you enjoy our book club style comic podcast that we've brought to the table. I'd like to shout out Evan, Matt, and Dan, who obviously will never be invited on. But in seriousness, thanks for giving me the go-ahead to try this, and there's always a chair for you assholes on our podcast. To the old fans, welcome back. I missed you. After today's entry, it's heavily encouraged you read the books that we're talking about ahead of time, and we'll let you know at the end of each episode what we're going to be reading next. Chat with us in the Discord located in the show notes. Tell us if you agree or disagree with what we said, make recommendations, and just come and chill. The podcast will be spoiler heavy, so be prepared when you start each episode. I guess the only thing left to do is start the show. Editor guy, hit my motherfucking music! Welcome to Between Two Panels, formerly the Paper Cuts podcast. I am your host, Dean the Vestlord DeFalco, and I'm joined by Nick, no last name. Today, we got a solid story for you in Marvel 1602. Stay tuned to hear about what we thought about that, but before that, Nick, what do you say, what do you hear?
Dude, I've been through a lot the last couple of days. I don't know about you. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we recorded behind the mics, but I went on a little trip these last few days. Me and the wife and the kids took a little trip down to Columbus and went to the the Center of Science and Industry, COSI, down there. Fun little place. I went, back in the day when I was in school. I don't know if you guys have ever taken a school trip there. Probably not. It'd be a little far.
A little far.
For you, I imagine.
Tiny bit.
Yeah. A little bit. But I don't know. I feel like from where I lived in Michigan down to Columbus, for a school trip, that's still a little far even. And it was like elementary school when I went, but they did it. I don't know.
I mean, when I was in New Jersey, it was you had everything near you because I lived in North Jersey, so you could go to New York City, you could go to Philly, everything was pretty much like an hour and a half away.
I had the opportunity to take those kind of school trips, they're like, high school trips to DC or to Washington or to Chicago, shit like that. I never got to go on those. I wasn't a great student, so they never let me go on those. But everybody else seemed to have a lot of fun doing it. And I went to go to those cities when I got a little older and just went and did it on my own anyway. And it was much more fun that way, probably.
That's cool. I would imagine that, doing it outside of the school trip would be a lot more fun.
Yeah, a little bit. But, no, Columbus was pretty good. The Science Center was great. My oldest had a blast. My youngest, the 4-month-old, who has really no interest at all in a science center, he held his own. He survived it. He toughed it out. Didn't freak out at anything too crazy. Didn't have any meltdowns or nothing. Like an infant would. One of the other places we went while we were there, I'm gonna give them a little free plug because they were a really freaking cool little store. It was the Book Loft of German Village. It's in Columbus, Ohio. If anybody's ever in the area and wants to take a look, if you're into books, definitely check them out. They have a huge selection of graphic novels and manga. Yeah, they had a little comic section too. I didn't really look through it too much, but there was a lot of older stuff. Back issues of cheaper shit. Lots of reasonable prices. Huge selection, 32 freaking rooms across I think it was 4 or 5 buildings of a city block, all kind of interlinked together through tight corridors and hallways, just walls and walls and walls lined with books, all of varying, authors and everything. I picked up a couple of cool things while I was there. I got the Minor Arcana. I picked up what is the Fool card, the Volume 1. It's like the first several issues of Minor Arcana by Jeff Lemire. I actually started reading that one this morning a little bit, read a few pages of it. I think that's going to be a fun one for us if we ever try to do that one.
Big fan of Jeff Lemire. For people that don't
Yeah,
know, he did Sweet Tooth, which was a huge series that got adapted into a TV show. If you haven't seen the TV show and you're not a big reader, maybe watch the first few episodes, and if you like that, go out and get the book. It's really, really great.
this one has to do with like the tarot cards and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, like the tarot and all that kind of lore, and it looks very interesting. I've always been kind of intrigued by that kind of stuff, as much as I don't entirely believe it to be, a real accurate thing all the time.
Is this Boom Studios?
I don't have it right next to me off the top of my hand, but I do believe so.
Oh yeah, I just looked it up.
Um,
It's Boom. Jeff
yeah,
Lemire has a very interesting way with his art. I'm assuming he definitely wrote
it's
it,
pretty
but
similar to like
yeah.
the Sweet Tooth art from what I remember anyway. But it's really good. Like I only read a handful of pages so far, and I'm already pretty interested in what's gonna happen with this person involved in the story. So
He has a very specific style. Again, if you don't know what he's about, check out Sweet Tooth. It's very much in the same vein as far as art goes anyway. I wouldn't call it polarizing because it's not bad art or anything like that, but it's
yeah,
very different.
yeah.
He does watercolors on this one for the actual color of the book, and it's really really nice to look at.
I will also point out that like if you have watched the Sweet Tooth Netflix show, it is kind of different, and the art is portrayed in the comics, and how the show is drastically different. It's
No, for sure, for sure. But yeah,
a big
no,
contrast.
it's Jeff Lemire's like one of my favorite artists. Seeing that he's doing, is this a horror book?
It didn't. I don't know. I mean, I've only read the first like literally 4 or 5 pages at most. It involves the tarot and this person potentially being like psychic. The back page looked really good. I don't have it again. I don't have the book next to me. I should have brought it down with me. But the back panel, the back blurb of what the book is about seemed very interesting to me. Involving tarot, this person potentially being linked to the tarot cards. This entire town is linked to just the various different cards in the tarot deck. Like the card of death, the card of the Eight of Cups, whatever. All of them. I don't know of them. Too many of them off the top of my head. But I also picked up another one while I was there, though, and this one also seemed pretty interesting by another noteworthy author in the comics industry. Everybody's probably heard of. I also picked up Joe the Barbarian. It's by Grant Morrison and Sean Murphy. This one involves a boy named Joe, and he has a pet rat. He also has diabetes. He apparently, lives a normal life with his mom and shit like that, but he goes to sleep one night and I'm assuming it's going to be, in a dream state. I have a feeling I can kind of predict how this one's going to go, just based off of what I read on the back of it, but it still seemed interesting. He essentially travels to a dream world where his rat is a bodyguard samurai looking dude, and he is a dying boy who is supposed to apparently save the world. Um, I don't know too much more than that, but it seemed pretty curiously interesting. It's by Grant Morrison, obviously noteworthy for many, many things in the comics industry. He's done a lot of my favorite X-Men work, so I had to pick this one up.
He's
Um,
he is known for X-Men, but his I believe his later work, he's done a lot of work on DC, Animal Man, Doom Patrol, Green Lantern. He also did a lot of
yeah.
stuff with Vertigo.
This one is also through like a DC like the subsidiary. It's like DC Dark Horse or something like
Oh,
that.
interesting.
DC Dark something. I should probably. You know what? Give me a second. I'm just gonna run and grab
Okay.
them. I'll be right back. Black Label. DC Black
I,
Label.
I just found it as you walked away. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
figured.
seems like with when DC discontinued Vertigo, this took over for it. A lot of the stuff that you would find under this would be the Sandman, Fables, Why the Last Man, Sweet Tooth, like we were talking about, Doom Patrol, Swamp Thing, Watchmen, iZombie, and I guess now Joe the Barbarian.
I did also pick up, just for fun and because I like Archie for whatever reason, I picked up the Archie Varsity Edition Omnibus Book 1.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with
Uh,
Archie.
it was nice and cheap. Big old bind up of a bunch of nice Archie stuff by Mark Waid. A bunch of art from Fiona Staples, Veronica Fish, and Annie Wu. Um,
No hate there. Like I said, Archie's cool as fuck. Goes back a long way, and yeah, Archie's always cool. Like just to sit down and like kind of read through little by little because it's a very digestible book.
oh yeah, yeah. Very slice of life. Easy to read pretty quick.
Now, you know it's not easy to read real quick.
This book?
Marvel 1602. Boy, let me tell ya.
Yeah, this one took a while to get through for me.
Yeah,
But I got through it, and I did enjoy it.
yeah. So
Spoilers, I guess. I did enjoy it.
spoilers, you didn't. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Just some fun facts about the book. It's a eight issue series. It's more or less a one-off, I guess, of something in the Marvel universe. Notable people on the book is Neil Gaiman wrote it. It's penciled and inked by Andy Kubert, and the editor on this is Joe Quesada. So
Not to mention, well, not even to mention, you got Richard Isanova, who did, he wrote Savage Wolverine, or at least Savage Wolverine Wrath. He did pencils on X-Men Unlimited. He did, a bunch of stuff as well. Spider-Verse stuff.
oh, you're right. I did miss that. He's doing the colors on this, right?
Yeah, digital painting.
Okay.
So yeah, colors probably, essentially.
A lot of big names on the book here. Here, this is a bit of a one-off story that we're being told here. It takes place largely in 1602 with some time jumping here and there to kind of fill in some gaps for the story. This takes place in a weird time where there's a lot of political strife going on between the Queen of England and the King of Scotland? King James? Did I get it right?
Yes, Scotland. He was trying to basically, he wants to take over England when the Queen is either dies or is killed because she is showing to be very ill currently.
Right. Within that is just one of the many subplots. The actual plot has to do with a world-ending event due to an unforeseen circumstance at the beginning of the book. The most knowledgeable person, Doctor Strange, is kind of tasked with finding out what is happening and how serious the threat is. Throughout the book, you're met with various adaptations of modern Marvel superheroes and villains in different capacities.
Yeah.
Some of the characters get like a cameo, while others are huge focal points in the story.
Should we talk about some of our bigger characters?
We are. I actually have them listed here. There's like 4 or 5 main groups in the book that the story kind of focuses around, and then we can always circle back to go through who are the most notable characters in the books.
Oh, yeah.
The groups that you're going to see the most of are the Witch Breed, which are basically mutants. It's the X-Men, more or less.
Yeah, they are your X-Men, your mutants.
The Queen of England and her court, which basically consists of a few superheroes that are just more humans. We'll go back to them in a second.
I would say they're like your Avengers of sorts.
We have the same thing going on with King James of Scotland. He also has a few more human characters at his disposal, but if you look close, the names will probably
Human passing.
Yeah, they'll probably tip you off. There's also Count Otto von Doom, who I won't go too far into right now because there's a lot of stuff around him. And there's also the Inquisition. I'm not going to say the Spanish. It was the Spanish Inquisition, wasn't it?
It was the
Inquisition.
Yeah, the Grand Inquisitor and the Inquisition.
It's basically heavily implied that it's the Spanish Inquisition, but they don't say. The Inquisition is more just a guise for the Brotherhood of Mutants. But let's go back and we'll talk about some of the more notable characters in the book.
We meet the Queen and we meet Doctor Strange. And then we quickly meet Nick Fury after that, or Sir Nicholas Fury, as he is in the book. He's actually the intelligencer for the Queen in this.
So most of the characters play basically a facsimile of what they would in the modern Marvel comics, just kind of adapted to what they are in 1602.
Yeah. Like Strange he is a magic man, but he's he's known as like he's the master of the Queen's medicine, so he's like an actual doctor for the Queen currently. He's using his magics and his medical knowledge to try and help the Queen. The way he gets his magics in this is a bit different.
Yeah, so that's one of the big things in this is that many of the origins, which they kind of glaze over a good amount of them because it's irrelevant to the larger plot at hand.
This assumes you know the origins, essentially.
Whatever is changed is very, very minimal compared to the grander scheme of things. If, not to spoil anything, but there are a group of 4 people that show up, and they're probably the most different for their origin story out of everyone. But yeah, besides that, again, it's fairly irrelevant. It doesn't matter because it doesn't change what's going to happen in the story. Some cool things to note is that the 1602 time is actually fairly significant to what's happening in the book. For instance, one of the key points of the book has to do with the colony of Roanoke.
Right around the founding of some of the first colonies and settlers moving to the Americas.
Yeah, and it's largely focused on just Roanoke right now, that being the first colony, and goes into a little bit of like fantasy for what happens there, because obviously if you know anything about American history, Roanoke is the mystery colony that disappeared when
everybody poofed.
Right. One of the leaders of the colony went back to England at some point to go beg for supplies, more money, because it's hard trying to colonize brand new territory. People die. You don't know what you're doing.
Especially when people were first coming over.
He went back and tried to barter for more stuff. When he came back, the colony had disappeared. A lot of the buildings and stuff were still there, but the people were all gone.
Nobody to be found. I think it's mostly assumed that they were savaged and taken captive by Indians and such.
That's largely the idea.
It's still considered a mystery, and it's pretty interesting if you want to look into it.
Yes, it is. There's, I believe, a bunch of documentaries and stuff about it to look up. If you guys don't know about it, please go Google it. It's a very cool moment in history.
Lots of fun lore in history.
However, what Marvel does here, or more Neil Gaiman, is that he takes this point in time, and changes it to where what if they never disappeared? What if they were okay? What if something happened that made them okay? And that something is what kind of triggers events, setting things into motion.
That's almost what this is like a what if Roanoke still existed type of book. It's a Marvel's what if, but it's just what if Roanoke still existed because of superheroes.
Yeah, and it's interesting listening to Neil Gaiman in the afterword explain his reasoning for wanting to write this book.
I didn't even read that.
I only read a little bit of it, maybe the first few paragraphs. But basically, after this, he started writing this right after September 11th happened. And because of that, he didn't want to do anything super modern with guns, buildings, large-scale destruction, bombs, and stuff. And I could understand that, like, who would really want to read that at that time? It would almost be tone deaf. So instead, he did something very unique and, made his own adaptation of something else. Let's cover a few more of the main people in the book. So all the original X-Men show up. The ones that are from the 60s are the ones that are here. So it's Scottius Summerisle, John Grey.
Well, and John Grey is introduced as John Grey at first, but there's also some spoilers there. But they're pretty obvious.
Yes, for
right from the start.
For any person, it should probably be pretty obvious.
It is definitely just Jean Grey, Master McCoy.
Yes, the Henry McCoy, I believe he's going by. You also have Robert Drake, Iceman, and then you have I always forget his name, but Angel. Angel is also in this.
Angel, it's just Angel in this.
Oh, it is? Okay, all right. You don't get a lot of the where they came from or anything. They're already at the house that Xavier's putting everyone at, except for Angel.
I'm pretty sure that's pretty
It's very
early
early.
in the books
Yeah,
anyway. So
Angel is
yeah,
at the beginning of the book. He's imprisoned by the Inquisition. The Inquisition is threatening to kill him because he.
they're about to burn him at the stake for being a witch breed, and then pretty quickly early on, that's when you meet all the other people they're introduced.
Yeah, so he's rescued by the rest of the X-Men, and the story goes forward with them. But going back to a few of our
Yeah.
other main characters, we have, like I said, Count Doom. You have Magneto, and then you have a few of the characters who typically hang around Magneto.
Yep. Wanda, Peter.
All those good people.
You get all your favorite X-Men characters. You get all your favorite Avengers related characters. It's just they might not be who you think they are when you first see them.
For sure. A couple other notable characters are Matt Murdock, Daredevil.
Yep. I think that's about
Yeah,
it.
I think that there's again there are a few cameos. One of the most obvious that I'll just point out is like the
And
Vulture shows up, but it's not really the Vulture, it's a Vulture.
yeah, it's yeah.
But there's plenty of explanation for why there's more than one,
And
so
then
you'll see that too.
there are two other characters I feel like we should mention that are new characters to the story.
So, fun fact, I'm sure one of them that you're gonna mention is Virginia Dare.
Yes. Has she been in something, I assume?
No, that's a real historical figure. She's actually
Oh, okay,
the
yeah.
firstborn of the
Okay.
Americas.
Even better.
So that part of the story is true.
Is accurate? Cool.
However, she died with everyone else in real life. So
Gotcha. That makes sense.
this is her,
This is their telling of
right,
it, yeah.
right. This is her, what
Okay.
if she lived, sort of thing. And she has a bodyguard, which for the life of me, I didn't know how to pronounce his name. Rohaz.
I assume either Rohaz, like the J is just entirely silent, or like just Rojaz. But I think it's more your way.
He's just a very large, pale-skinned Indian man. He has blonde hair.
He's Virginia's Native American guide, protector, like guide and protector. Sworn to protect her by the colony that she's coming from, by Ronan.
And from what we're told, he went out of his way to protect the colony for many, many years, and they attribute him for them surviving the first few winters they were there.
Yep.
Okay, so another fun fact to note with this book is that, as far as we know from what we're told, there were no superpowered humans in this universe before the events of this book specifically. So we went 1,500 years AD without any sort of superhero showing up. This is all the stuff that's happening with Strange,
The
Witch Breeds, Daredevil, all that is specifically
crazy weather.
Yeah, that's all happening. This is all new shit to them. They've never seen anything like this before. So people, like normal people, are very scared. They all think it's the end of the world for sure because these all seem like omens of the end times. So I would say a majority of this book follows a few of the main characters, and then the rest of the characters are more in like supporting moments in the book. Primarily like Nick Fury, Stephen Strange, and Charles Xavier.
Our main focus characters, your main focus characters is Strange, Fury, and like the X-Men essentially. Bit of Murdoch, like tiny bit of Murdoch and Natasha, but it's a Knights Templar story ultimately, but told through a superhero standpoint, like through the eyes of the X-Men and the Avengers. Because like the main plot of the book, entails this artifact that's being brought to. I can't remember where it was being brought, but like this artifact from the Templars that's being brought and guarded to.
It's coming from Jerusalem.
Being brought to the Queen or whatever, to Fury, and it's supposed to have the power to help everybody and figure this shit out.
Right.
And we ultimately, I don't know, well, I'm not going to spoil, but like ultimately we find out that this artifact is really useful, bringing about another friend to help out with everything. And everybody wants it though. Is the whole plot of the book. So everybody's after it.
Yes, so many, I wouldn't say everyone's convinced, but there are quite a few people that do think that end times are coming. Strange has convinced the queen, and since, she is probably one of the most powerful people in the world, she's like, okay, well, if the world's ending, we got to do something to stop it.
And actually, now that I think about it, that artifact I don't think ultimately. Well, no, wait, no. Yeah, never mind. Never mind. It does really help him.
It does, but it has no bearing on the actual main plot, because what I was going to say is there's no main villain to this book. There are bad guys, but...
Yeah, but it's mostly just people wanting something to try and utilize it for good. I feel, well, in some cases for good.
Well, so, I mean, even the artifact is still just a tool. The actual thing that is happening is not a single person.
Yeah, it's an event more than a person.
Right. And these people are tasked with trying to reverse said event from, like, coming through and actually happening, because as we read along...
But I feel like we don't even find out that it's an event, really, more than a person, or more than an artifact, I guess. Until, like, later on in the books.
So they just say something, somehow, someone, they don't really know what it is. They just know that something happened and it needs to be reversed. And they believe that this artifact has the power to stop it. Though no one knows what the artifact is. They don't know what it looks like. The only person who knows what it looks like is the person that is bringing it to them, who is a very old man who has been a part of the Templars for a very long time.
Yeah, that's true.
Each of the characters kind of have their own motives and allegiances, and they're not as clear-cut as just one side or the other. I think Nick Fury is probably the only one who has the most pure motives, and that's to guard queen and country.
Yeah, he's sworn to the crown.
Yeah.
Like I hearkened him to I hearkened him to a paladin.
Yeah.
If you want to put him in D&D terms, he's very much a paladin throughout most of this series.
I mean, I don't know about a paladin, because he does some pretty dirty things. I'm not sure if paladins...
Well, I would say he pretty quickly becomes like an Oathbreaker paladin, but...
Okay, if we're going D&D things, jeez.
Sorry,
But
D&D mindset, man. I can't help it.
But yeah, he's definitely the most like pure, like straightforward and pure-minded of everyone. Everyone else kind of has their, I wouldn't say their own sake in mind, but it's either they want freedom, they want to help someone else. It's not specifically just the good of the world. Probably besides Stephen Strange. I would say maybe besides Fury. Strange.
Yeah, Strange and Fury are the most straightforward of like, we just want what's going to be best for the world. Fury's more the crown a little bit, but the world as well.
Yes.
Strange is like just straight up the world.
Yes.
Like he's just like, I mean,
he
with what he ends up doing, clearly his only care was saving everybody else.
Yes, you're absolutely right. As the story progresses, we find out that this isn't really one of the many Marvel universes that we're used to. It's not like the 69 timeline or the 420 timeline or anything. This is the main 616 universe.
Was it 616?
Yes.
You're probably right.
So
you're probably right.
It's in the first part when I believe Strange is first talking to one of the other well-known Marvel characters on like a more universal scale, the Watcher. The Watcher lets it be known that, there's many, many universes, and he tries to put it in terms that Strange can understand, which is great because it made it so I could understand it in those terms.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're right.
So we're not dealing with a different universe or anything. We're dealing with an altered timeline.
You're 100% right.
Yep. Something has traveled back in time, and because the universe is trying to fix itself, but it can't, because this thing that traveled back created a paradox. So because of the time paradox, the universe is literally ripping itself apart. And like not just this universe, it could have like overwhelming repercussions, and it could get rid of all of the universes.
Yeah, basically we lose the main universe, we lose all the universe.
Right, and the Watcher doesn't know how bad it can get, but he knows that it's going to be bad if this comes to pass.
It's bad enough that they feel the need that they need to intervene.
Yes. Yeah, and like as if you guys know anything about the Watchers, all they do is watch. So this is a very big deviation from what they normally do. And I mean, there have been many world-ending moments where the Watchers have literally stood by and done nothing. So the fact that they thought they, not all of them, but the fact that one needed to act was more than enough.
Well, no, it was all of them.
Oh yes, it was.
They all
That's
they
my
all
bad.
conferred together.
They
They
did.
agreed. I mean, they're Watchers. They're confusing beings, but
Throughout the book, we're kind of like interwoven into a few different plot lines going on. Like I said, we have the world-ending plot. We have a lot of the political intrigue going on. But then on top of that, we have one more plot that's happening with all this. And it also introduces some characters that I didn't think were going to show up till they actually did. And that is Von Doom's plot that is happening.
Fury and Strange have friends that they knew who were sailors. They sailed off. It was a group of four. Sailed off to go, adventuring and exploring the lands and stuff because one of them was a scientist and one of them was trying to get away from a marriage they didn't like, and the other one was her brother, and the last one was the ship captain. And
If that sounds,
yeah,
familiar, they were aboard a ship called the
they went
Fantastic.
adventuring.
So
In their adventures, get captured by one Von Doom. Yes.
Von Doom's whole plot is the fact that he doesn't care about the world ending or anything. He just knows that this artifact is coming up from Jerusalem to England, and he needs to have it because
It's somehow powerful.
yeah,
Yes.
if it is powerful enough to, stop the end of the world, so the Queen thinks he needs to have it. Because the world's probably not going to end, but if it is going to end, Doom can stop it because Doom is all powerful, especially with the super artifact. I gotta say, a lot of what happens inside of his plotline is probably the most interesting and most revealing.
Yeah, I kind of did wish there was a bit more to that, or that was kind of maybe the ultimate plot line. But I mean, I enjoyed the main plot as well, but I feel like Doom needed a little more.
He's a side character. I mean, for better or for worse,
Yeah.
Doom is a side character in this book, and I'm not going to say he's treated as such because his implications for what could happen were very huge.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's
sure.
very much like there and gone. He is in a good chunk of the book, but he's only there in bits and pieces. It's a cut, for 2 or 3 pages, and then you're back to the main plot line. Until our big heroes go to try and intercept Doom meddling with some items that he thinks are the artifact, but he doesn't know because he doesn't know what they look like.
Yeah, because he does believe at some point that he gets his hands on the artifact because he does get his hands on the old man that's supposed to be guarding the artifact.
Yeah.
But we learn that that's a little bit different. But
Doom, much like his normal character, is a man of vanity. He's very egotistical, and that's ultimately
vain, egocentric.
yeah, that's ultimately his
Yeah.
demise in this book is his own hubris. He thought he had the artifact. He thought he knew how to handle it, and in fact, he did not. And it became it. It's his unraveling. The cool points to this, not only his fall, but the fall of his castle happens because it all happened so quick that
And then, yeah, a very quick battle siege sequence, like in a matter of, I believe, of 2 or 3 pages.
and
At
it's
most.
incredible. It's an incredible scene. Like there's so much happening. There's so many characters in these scenes that there's so much action happening with them. But before you know it, like in a finger snap, it's just done.
Yep. And everything's kind of cut off to another part of the story. Moving on with what is it, the Roanoke plot essentially. Like they get the Fantastic Four out, and from there, Reed essentially immediately figures out what they need to do.
It's implied that the entire time he's been captured, Doom has been using him for information because Doctor Doom is very smart in his own right, but he's not on the same level as Reed Richards. Reed Richards is like a
Exactly.
very
And Doom knows that.
yeah. So he Doom is using him to the best of his abilities. He has all of his friends imprisoned. He's torturing them, and he promises Reed that if you give me what I want, I'm not going to torture them anymore. It's really crazy in some of the ways that he has them trapped. Honestly, Richards is the most mundane out of all of them. Sue Storm is trapped inside, I believe, some sort of mirror in Doom's bedroom. So she's forced to watch
Yeah.
him just like have sex with Black
Be
Widow all the
Doom,
time.
which I don't want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
that's
very, very weird, like, sort of setting. Ben Grimm is trapped in, like, a very small crevice.
way, way, way down in the beast, below below the castle.
Yeah, and it's not much bigger than he is. He's basically like just a boulder shoved into an opening, and Johnny Storm is on a very small island
Surrounded by water.
with a waterfall hitting, not hitting him, but it's spraying him. So
Splashing him enough to
yeah,
keep him
it seems like
from lighting
yeah,
up,
it's
anyway.
extinguishing him, and he's not able to do what he needs to get out of there. So they've all been dealt with in a specific way. After, I think Sue Storms is probably the most inhumane out of all of them.
Yeah, that's got to be the most torture, if you ask me. Like, because clearly Ben can handle his, and Johnny dealt with it enough, I guess. But,
Oh shit! You know what I just realized? The person that Sue didn't want to marry is probably Doom, and that's why he has her trapped like that.
Maybe.
It's
But
not
I
implied.
doubt it. I
You're
don't
right.
think there's that much connection. Like, but it's possible, I guess, but I don't think there's that. I think it was just a different.
You're right. It's not really like said, but I feel like her punishment was very cruel and unusual.
I don't know enough real Fantastic Four lore to know if that's like ever a thing. So
I think Sue and Doom had some sort of like relationship
it
before.
wouldn't surprise me, like, if it's been done at some point, but
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
surprise
think
me in the
before
least.
they all changed, they were all friends with each other, and then all that shit happened, and that was their diverging point.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Checks out. Sounds like a good canon
Yeah,
event.
that all that stuff that happens there with Doom is probably the I wouldn't say the most interesting, but it's definitely the most horrifying. Because the man has zero conscience in this book. It's all about him.
Oh yeah, yeah. He just wants what's best for Doom and bettering his power and his wealth. And, yeah.
When we're met with the Roanoke storyline again, I don't know how much I want to go into this, but we find out essentially that like the thing that is causing this is well within everyone's reach, and they can very much change what's happening as long as they can figure out how to get the thing
How
back.
to get everybody involved,
Yeah, like back through
on the same
yeah.
page. It's hard to talk about a book you don't want to spoil. It
All
really
right,
is.
well, I'm gonna say this is a giant fucking spoiler. So if you do want to like skip this part, skip ahead like 2 minutes, and we'll at least be past the main details of what's happening, and we'll try to not use the name of whatever is involved here. So this is your warning. You got a couple minutes. Go do something else. That being said. We do find
now we're in
yeah
the clear.
we do find out while they're all on the boat going back to the Americas and Roanoke that the thing that's causing this is the Native American fella that is guarding Virginia Dare.
Rojas.
Yeah, Rojas. Yeah.
It's all Rojas.
Yeah, and we don't know how because the book that it's first revealed in just leaves off on a giant fucking cliffhanger where all of a sudden Rojas doesn't say much throughout the book, and I believe the first 5 or 6 issues he probably says 4 words and they're repeated.
Basically, like, I have to protect her.
Yeah,
That's it.
and then all of a sudden he just starts speaking perfect English like it's no problem at all, and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Wait a minute.
Right. It's an interesting head turn, and you find out in the next issue that this man is somehow Captain America from the future.
Well, if you put it like that, Miss Strange, I guess she's not.
Because Doctor Strange's wife was not accusing Virginia Dare of being the singularity that's causing this all to happen, but she was like, it could be her. You know, maybe she has to
But
go
it
back
isn't
through.
you, is it?
Right. Once we're met with that, we're given a short like backstory on how Cap got here, but it doesn't exactly make the most sense when like you get to the
No,
end
it
of it.
kind of
No,
doesn't.
no.
But
But I was willing to look over it because there's so much cool shit
it's
happening.
superhero
Yeah.
shit.
Basically, what ends up happening is the normal shit that happens to Cap in 616 all happens. However,
Yep.
it seems like we get to the old man Logan storyline where everything goes to shit, and like he's one of the few real superheroes left. Now, when I say the old man Logan storyline, I just mean a dystopian future. I don't mean that specific storyline.
Basically, yeah, yeah. At some point, an apocalypse event of some sort, type video or Old Man Logan event happens, and Cap gets sick of it, so
So he doesn't necessarily get sick of it. He gets captured. He's fighting the good fight the
yeah,
whole
that's what it
time.
was.
He's like in the resistance. He's trying to make the world a better place again
That's
because
what it was.
America isn't
Duh.
America anymore.
Duh.
And with that, when he gets captured, and this is where it stops making as much sense. He's put in front of a machine. He doesn't know what the machine does, but he's strapped down to a table, and then he says he's shot in the fucking head, and he
Yeah, you get
dies.
shot in the head and then sent into this machine, and whatever
Well,
happens.
is he even sent into the machine? Because it just sounds like the machine was an incinerator, and like they straight fucking murdered him.
I mean, I don't know. He does. He says he gets shot in the head, and then he woke. Next thing he knows, he was waking up.
Yep, that is true. So, right, he doesn't know exactly what happens, but he says he was murdered, and then he showed up here, and he doesn't know exactly where here is. So he starts wandering around. He comes upon a bunch of Native Americans. They take him in. And then a few years after that, he ends up meeting the colonists from Roanoke, and he is the flashpoint more or less for where I guess our timelines diverge because he was already there and there was no problem. However, he started messing with the timeline when he changed how the
Decided
people
to.
from Roanoke were going to
Yeah.
live. You know, instead of them dying off for whatever reason, he helps them.
That messes with everything.
Right, because he's not supposed to be there, and now not only is he's not supposed to be there, all these people who he saved aren't supposed to be there either. And the more he does things, the more it keeps fucking with the timeline. And that is what we're
Yeah.
led to believe is
It's almost a TVA
yeah.
story.
I mean, honestly, this is kind of the TVA stuff before any of that like happens. You're absolutely right because
Yep.
he's fucking around with things that he doesn't understand.
Just the settlers settling, the past people settling it themselves rather than, TVA people coming to actually intervene.
Now, the difference here is instead of Cap wanting to make it right, he doesn't want to. He believes that by staying here, he can make everything better. He can make a new America.
He could start it his way from the start.
Right, this is his fresh start to make everything better because he can protect America from the very beginning.
Which, if you think about it, is kind of the most almost corrupt thing I feel like I've ever heard Captain America want to do. Like, yeah, I want to, no, fuck you guys. I'm staying here to make this shit mine from the start.
I don't think he understands what's quite at stake because he probably believes that the world isn't going to end. I don't believe he thinks it's going to end, and
well, true, but I mean,
he just thinks that, saving America is the most important thing, which, like, yeah, I get it. He lived an entire lifetime where he saw America degrade into
something he did not believe in.
But, it has definitely gone to a point where he lost complete faith in, what America stood for, and he thinks this is his one chance to unfuck it. And by going back, if he does that, that means he's going back to a universe that is completely destroyed. So he really doesn't want to fucking go back there.
Yep, he's gonna go back to, yeah, basically he's worried he's got to go back to where he left.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily blame him.
No, of course
But,
not.
like-
But the fact that if he doesn't go back, there's nothing to go back to. So
Right.
and it gets to the point where he won't listen, and Nick Fury has to essentially lie to him to get him to even cooperate. And once Cap is in like
It's a pretty funny scene, Fury lying to him, and then
it
getting him to come down. He's like, okay, sure, I'll go with you.
and then he straight up just
Fury
knocks him out.
Knocks him out. No, you're going with me.
After that, it's pretty much just a straight shot right to the end. Again, a lot of this stuff is all spoiler heavy, so maybe if you haven't read it, go read it at this point and come back when you're done, because I think that would be important to what we're going to be talking about right now. A lot of this stuff has to do with all the loose ends in the book. And then after that point, we'll talk about what we liked and didn't like a little bit more. Once Cap is in Fury's control, Fury carries him to the singularity point, which is basically this glowing orb that all of the heroes have a part in. Everyone that we've met at this point are all the big main characters.
This is essentially what gave them their abilities.
Yeah.
Without them knowing.
Right, because what we're to understand here is because of Cap, the age of superheroes was jump started. It shouldn't have happened until the 20s when Cap came about.
When he was first.
But because he's here now, everything was jump started because the timeline thought it necessary, and because they are all here, they're able to send him back. This weird singularity point is able to be manipulated by, each superhero's specific powers. I know we didn't mention one of the characters, so I'm going to keep it that way just so there is a little air of mystery there. But the ones that we did talk about, Reed Richards is using his knowledge
Reed's involved.
help understand how it's going to work. But you have Magneto there manipulating the singularity itself to open it up. You have another one of the characters powering it.
Basically, at this point, they all get that machine powered up as Fury's essentially carrying Cap up to it, unconscious. And Fury has to toss Cap on in.
He doesn't toss Cap on in. They both go.
Well, yeah, he doesn't really toss him, but, he made it.
Yeah, so the big point of this is that Cap needs to go, and Fury, not really having anything left to be there for, sacrifices himself so that Cap can go back, because Cap was not going to willingly go back. It's the hero sacrifice. It makes a lot of sense. Fury is definitely, I would say, as much of a main character as you could have in this book.
Yeah, closest to it. Him and then secondary Strange, yeah.
And, he definitely makes the hero sacrifice. He has a bunch of points where he says, there's nothing left for him here. He's just going to have to do what he does, and he'll be judged by his actions later. With that being said, and Cap being gone, we are given two things that happen. One is the universe righting itself. Everything that isn't anymore. So the normal 616 universe is back in place. Roanoke is no more. The people that were supposed to die died. After that, we get this communication between all of the Watchers, where the main leader is talking to the one that largely helped Strange and the rest of the heroes save the universe.
Yeah, it was Uatu.
And he is bestowed upon him a small item, which at first it's not really stated what it is. It's just little and glowing. And then
he's gifted a little orb containing the universe that should have technically just died. That was created as a secondary universe to our main 616.
So it wasn't extinguished. The Watchers were able to spare all of these people from their fate of being erased, and we're given a few.
But I don't think it was able to continue. I don't think it would have continued otherwise.
No, it wouldn't have. They did this as this was the Watchers' gift for stepping in, because it's explained that you said it earlier, the Watcher brought shame upon this group because they're not supposed to get involved in any way, shape, or form. And
But he was able to do what needed to be done. He got involved. He was able to correct things and right things so that everything was saved, and everybody got to keep their keep watching what they like to watch, essentially.
so he's gifted the universe that
He's
he
gifted the
enjoyed watching, so that he can
yeah.
keep watching it. And you get a few more frames of what happens to the rest of our characters now that we know that they're alive and well, and it leaves off on a bit of a cliffhanger. Like, obviously there's a bunch of loose ends that we don't know what happens to them. That's how Neil Gaiman writes things.
Yeah, it's a very good cliffhanger too. Like I quite enjoyed the cliffhanger myself. It made me very curious to see if if there's anything further with this.
There is indeed more. There are a couple of spin-off things that happened a few years later. I don't believe they're as good as the original book, but
New World, Fantastic Four. I guess one's continuing just them. Spider-Man and Witch Hunter Angela.
there you go. So going back, all in all, it's a great story. It's paced fairly well. I wouldn't say like it's perfect, but
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of commonplace with a lot of comics that have a lot to tell. It's gonna cut. There's a lot of jump cuts. There's a lot of cutting around back and forth from story to story, plot to plot. But it's told well. It's written well. It's written very, very well. I mean, it's Gaiman. You know, what do you come to expect from him?
yeah, I think one of the biggest turn offs for me was I would have liked the Cap stuff explained a little better, because I feel like Gaiman as a writer just kind of threw his hands up and said, "Superhero shit. This isn't my thing. Fucking superhero shit. I don't write this sort of stuff.
Bit,
like,
but...
go. This is what happened. Like, and it's fine.
The fact that Cap says he's shot in the head, and then he wakes up fine somehow in the past. Cap is not canonically bulletproof, so like he should not survive a shot to the head necessarily. Nor does he have like Logan's healing powers or anything like that.
No, and we're not really given anything else after or anything about what happened to him. It just is. But that's very key for Gaiman. You leave loose ends open, so in case you ever want to go back, you can do something. The other thing, going back to it, is I would have liked to have seen more with the Fantastic Four.
I mean, they seem to have their own little series.
So I'm assuming that someone wanted more besides
that's
just me.
Either, yeah. I wonder if it's like a continuation or if it is like some of what they were doing prior to this, like some of their adventures.
This takes place after.
Oh, it is a post.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
It says the story involves the four of the Fantastics in London and the return of Otto von Doom. So, yeah.
Neat. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of just one of those kind of stories. It's an alternate universe, alternate timeline story, or a what if story of sorts, And those are personally some of my favorite books to read. Like the Exiles series is by far one of my favorite among like the X-Men franchises and like the X franchises anyway, because it does include a lot of non-X-Men.
Honestly, yeah, I mean, I agree. Some of my favorite stuff is not the mainline shit. Yeah.
The what if stories are always great. Like,
one of my favorite things is Ultimate Spider-Man. I rather that above regular Spider-Man.
Yep. The Ultimate Spider-Man stuff's far better than the regular.
Yeah, and again, nothing against
Always.
Peter Parker or anything, but it was just a new telling, and that's when I picked up on it. So it was really cool to see that telling of the book. I also did want to check something else with 1602 New World. Yeah, so that is a direct sequel to where 1602 left off. So if anyone wanted to pick that up,
also good to know, because I'm curious.
That is what happens at Roanoke after this whole thing happens. And reading it, there are some notable characters that are expanded upon. Like, we didn't mention him while we were talking about it. And I guess this is kind of one of the things that I was a little bummed out about now that I'm thinking about it. We are greeted by Bruce Banner at some point, and
yeah we didn't mention him. He doesn't get too much time in this, unfortunately.
He does not at all, but there is one scene of him at the end where he is in full Hulk form, and it's
Yep.
implied that them righting the wrongs of this world and this giant energy blast going off set him into being like Hulk. Yeah.
Is what caused that. Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
There are a few other things. Yeah, there are a few other things that happen with that. Like Peter Parker is also
Right at the end of the book, Peter gets bitten by a spider while talking to Virginia. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of really cool stuff going on with that. I believe also in the sequel, there's a bunch of dinosaur shit going on. So if you guys like dinosaurs, that's also cool.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong. That was one of the things I wanted to mention. Now that you mentioned the dinosaurs, that reminded me. Throughout the book, we do hear a lot that the new lands and stuff that they're being settled in the colonies and whatnot are infested with like leather winged creatures and dinosaurs, and I think they're in the Savage Land. Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to make the 1-to-1 ratio that it's the Savage Land.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, they're in the Savage, like Roanoke is in the Savage Land. Like that's why
Now
it
that's
disappeared.
not to say that there aren't those sort of things in Europe, because we're shown, I believe, in Latveria outside of Doom's Fortress that he has leather wings. Either he might have made them.
Does he? I thought those were just his. I thought those were just like his drone guys.
Well, so there's the vulture guys, but then he also has a bunch of it's a quick shot. It's outside of his castle before all the battling happens. There are like some pterodactyl monsters hanging out there. But because we're in the Marvel universe, it kind of just seems like dinosaurs are there just because, and yeah.
Yeah, true. It could be like just that they were still around back then.
But I do agree with you that America is very much the Savage Land.
Because it is suggested too that the Fantastic Four are like dealing with other crazy monsters and stuff like that in their adventures before all this even happens.
Yes, so I do agree that the Americas are very much the Savage Lands, and that a lot of the past expeditions of the Fantastic Four before being captured dealt a lot with that stuff. I mean, overall, I think this is a great book. I think Neil Gaiman did a incredible job of writing, and honestly, I did say, and I said it a couple of times, that I don't want to cover a lot of DC and Marvel stuff, but I did make an exception for this because it's not dealing with like a mainline book or anything where
not direct canon.
Yeah, so you're able to just take it in, read it, and
random one-off what ifs. We can make an exception for some of those. Some of them.
I do want to make a correction. It's something I did. It's not Bruce Banner that is in this book. He is the Bruce of Scotland, which is I believe it's a religious term for like an advisor there.
Yeah, I think he's only known as, I think it's just Banner.
It's David Banner. So I believe that's his. Is that his father?
Maybe. I don't remember.
I mean, I'm not...
my Marvel knowledge is not that... At least my Hulk knowledge is not that strong.
No, and me neither, unfortunately. I'm not a huge Marvel guy in general, so for me to, like, understand a lot of this is difficult.
I am, just not so much Hulk. I feel like I would enjoy it more if I read some of it, but I haven't really read a lot of it at
Hulk
all.
Is a cool book, but there's a lot going on. There's different versions of Hulk and stuff. It's really crazy. Like I told my wife Larissa a couple of days ago, we were watching something.
It's one of those ones like Turtles where I feel like if I tried to get into it now, I would have no idea what I was.
I agree. It's a lot. That's what it was. We saw a trailer for Falcon or Captain America and New World. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Red Hulk shows up, and she's like, "Who the fuck is Red Hulk?" And I said, "Well, that's not Banner."
He's like the most common new Hulk.
He is.
Like, most
so
common
I looked at her and I said, "Do you know there's a Gray Hulk?" And she said, "What's Gray Hulk?" And I said, "Well, you're not gonna like it, but he's basically if like Paulie Walnuts was like a Hulk." And she said, "Shut up." And I said, "No, that's what he is. He's a fucking gangster." And she said, "Why?" And I
Yeah.
said, I don't know why he exists. I just know that he exists, and he's my favorite Hulk."
He's a good one. He is a good one.
Yeah, he is. There's other ones too, but we're not gonna go too into the Hulk stuff. But no, I believe this is just another version of Banner. He's just called by a different name. So David Banner is still Bruce
Yep.
Banner.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
just
Yep.
the Bruce of Scotland. Do you have like any other thoughts on like anything that happened on the book?
I mean, I would say like so. My overall take on the story was that this was kind of, in a way, like a telling of a knight, like a Knights Templar story, like I mentioned earlier, like told through the eyes of like the X-Men and some other various Marvel superheroes, and like the characters that Gaiman chose to use for that story worked really well. I feel like he picked the right characters just due to their background. X-Men being the to fit the time period, he picked the right characters. Is my better
I agree.
saying
I
there.
agree.
X-Men, like he's going for the Spanish Inquisition times. Witches are everywhere, stuff like that. People are being burned at the stake. X-Men fit that bill pretty quickly. Clearly, your other superheroes that we see throughout the story kind of all fit that bill pretty clearly with what they're able to do and stuff like that. So it was told really well. Like I would say, I wrote that I would give it a 9 out of 10. Honestly, I think it's more like an 8 out of 10 with some of the things you pointed out. Now that I'm hearing your side of things too, but like
It's a very
it's a good
strong
book.
book.
I would say
Yeah.
go read it if you have the chance. For
Yeah, and
sure. Go read this
it's a
one.
little on the long side. Like I don't think you could complete this book in one
Some of the
sitting.
religious stuff gets a little at some points, but like
It's a side
yeah,
note because all the religious stuff has to do a lot with the Inquisition stuff, and that's more like from a fear mongering perspective more than anything else.
yeah. It's also like, to be fair, like it's very brief for maybe like the first book or two. Really, a lot of it's mentioned, but it's tough. It is a slog to read through
Yeah,
that part of it.
after that, you're met with a lot of the fallout happening.
Just good story and dialogue, and
Yeah,
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 that's where the
because
good part
the
starts.
Inquisitor is Magneto. So like if you're paying attention and you're reading this, you're like, "Well, why is Magneto murdering other mutants? That's not what he does. Like what the fuck is happening?"
Yeah,
But you learn quickly that he's not really a part of the Inquisition. He's just using them for his own means.
using it as a front to form his own
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he's a very strong character throughout the book. Honestly, I would have liked to have seen more from him too.
yeah. Once he finally shows himself for
Yeah.
who he is, like yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
He's a
his
big
his
powerhouse.
first moments when like you figure because they don't mention his name in the book till almost the very end.
Yeah, it's book 7. We finally learn his real name.
But there's hints throughout the book, and when he first shows himself as Magneto, it's really cool because there is someone plotting to assassinate him, and they got this knife to his neck, and they're like, "Don't worry, this is the finest steel. You're not even gonna feel it." And he's like, unfortunate."
It's a
Yeah,
shame.
and they're like, "What?" And he's like, "That your blade is made of steel." And he doesn't even kill them, dude. He just backs them into a pit by holding the knife up to them. That's all he does. It's such a badass thing to do. He's
Yep.
not even looking at them as he's doing it.
Makes him do it
Yeah,
himself.
he's not as cold as he is in a lot of the X-Men stuff. He has I wouldn't say a bit of a heart here, but he's more relatable because of the times. He would be persecuted like everyone
Yeah,
else, so he's hiding in plain sight.
he's written as very much more anti-hero than
Yeah,
hero,
I agree.
or but than
Yeah,
villain. Sorry.
I agree. He's very much writing that more. Another fun fact: the sequel to this is written by Greg Pak, which is another huge author and has done many Marvel books: X-Men, Hulk, Hercules. He's also done, I believe, some of the newer Star Wars stuff as well from Marvel. So if you like Greg Pak, that would definitely be a good reason to read Marvel 1602 New World. Not as long as the original book that we just read. This was 8 issues. The sequel is only 5 issues.
Yeah, much more bite size. Well, not bite size, but much more compact meal.
Again, I would say that this is not something you could just sit down and read in one sitting. I would definitely take your time.
Yeah, this took me I think all of a actual like whole week in a couple of days, like to get through. Yeah, I do like where Gaiman left this off. He did leave it off with a lot of room for like anybody to kind of come in and I guess probably with his they probably got to have some sort of consent or like good word at least from Gaiman to be like, okay, go off and continue this story or do this, do your version of this story or what do you want to do with it, He left a lot of good room for that at the end of it for other authors to come in and try and do their hand.
Yeah, so highly recommended. I would say that the best way to pick this up would be as the trade paperback because the stuff at the end of the book that you get is cool. There's the afterword, which again gave Gaiman's like headspace for where he was when he wrote this, which I think is really interesting and helps you kind of understand like why he chose this route. But then there's also some neat stuff that they included in the single comic books that they also put into the back of this that you can just like take a look at. There's I think they said it was from issue 5. There's a character sheet that shows everyone that's been introduced so far and their names and everything.
Yeah. Issue 5, page 3.
In the middle of it, there's the illustration of Kubert and Gaiman, and it's really cute to see.
It's a lot. I actually made a note of it that I was going to read it, but I feel like it's better left for other people to be able to read because it's a very fun little synopsis of what's happened so far in the story.
Yes.
It was a nice little cartoon with it.
Yeah, I agree. And they said at the bottom the whole reason they threw it in there is because they liked the illustration so much for everything and the cartoon versions of these writers and artists that they had to throw it in.
Actually, I do need to mention now, though, because I pulled that page up. The dinosaurs aren't canon.
What do you mean?
Part of the comic blurb is Kubert asking Andy, hey Neil, if this is the Marvel Universe, what are all the tiny dinosaurs doing? What's with all the dinosaurs?
I like how Gaiman just ignores them and walks off. See you later.
Yeah. Yep.
Dinosaurs.
Okay. Hope you know what you're doing. Scott McCowan, he did a lot of the cover art for pretty much every issue of this. Actually, every issue of this. He was the cover artist of the book. He did all the cover art. Hasn't really done any work for Marvel or any other companies before, but he's done a lot of he's an artist that's been doing superhero work for a long time. And I didn't know this when I made it, but you know how I made the little logo mock-up that I made with the superhero art and stuff that we were like, yeah, we probably can't use this because of so the Marvel character portion of it, Scott McCowan did the art for.
Oh, that's funny.
I pulled up his Wikipedia to get some information on him and stuff for the notes, and I was like, wait a minute, that's the art.
Now the trade does include all the original covers, which I do recommend looking at and appreciating. They're very nice well done. They're
very nice covers. It's a very neat art style, almost old
English.
Old English paintings.
Yeah, no, I agree. I loved the way they looked. I think my favorite was I believe it was the last one where they're standing on a map of the the East Coast of America.
Yeah. Who was that? It's Fury, Virginia, and
Rojas. Yeah. I thought that was a really, really cool look, especially the lighting that's done there and the shadow work and everything. It's so cool looking.
Yeah, like the sun of the map, like the sun is like painted or drawn onto the map is actually
the real sun. Yeah,
illuminating the light that's casting the shadows on the
other one that was really cool was the bunch of the characters in the labyrinth, I believe, in book 2.
Yeah,
I like that. Again, they're all good, but these are the ones that just kind of stuck out to me.
He's not a bad artist by any means. There's a reason I picked the art I picked when I made the little thumbnail mock-up I had made.
Very true. Very true. Okay, I guess it's time to pick a new book, huh?
It's time to pick a new book, Dean. Is it my turn to pick a book, Dean?
Pick a book.
So I did give you a book that I had an idea on that I had told you about in our Discord conversation.
You did, and I forgot, so why don't you go ahead and tell everyone?
Well, I'm going to throw you a curveball anyway.
Okay.
I suggest we do Minor Arcana.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'd be down for doing a new book. That was the Lemire book, right?
Yeah, Minor Arcana by Jeff Lemire. It is Volume 1, The Fool. It is available for us.
Now, and this is a newer book, so people shouldn't have any problems getting this.
No, yeah, you should be able to find this one. I picked it up, like I said, at the bookshop I had visited. It was relatively cheap, honestly, like 17, $18, I want to say.
How many issues is in the volume?
It is the first five, four, five, first five, 1 through 5.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. Like I said, it's if you would like, I'll read you the blurb here at the back.
Yeah, hit me with
it. It's when Teresa's mom, a phony small-town psychic, falls ill, Teresa has to return home to take care of her. But she soon discovers that everyone in town is mysteriously connected to the tarot, and that she may actually have real psychic abilities. Now it's time to reconcile with her ailing mother, confront the failures of her past, and help the townsfolk she'd spent her entire life running from. It seemed pretty interesting to me. I'm very interested in the tarot and all that kind of lore with like tarot cards and stuff like that. They've always been fun to me. As much, like I said at the beginning, as much as I really don't believe in most of it, it's a very interesting concept, and the lore behind a lot of it is so just deep that I'm curious to see how far into it he goes.
Yeah, I'm interested. I love Boom Studios. They've done a lot of stuff over the years that I've always enjoyed. They did the Power Rangers stuff, which, for better or for worse, is I think pretty good.
Oh yeah, the majority of it.
Yeah, they also did a pretty long Adventure Time arc, which I thought was pretty cool. I think they did a whole bunch of Cartoon Network stuff for a while, like Ben 10.
Yeah, they do a lot of the Hanna-Barbera
yes,
stuff.
Yes, they do. So if if you're interested in some of that stuff, in some like movie properties, like they've done the Dark Crystal as well, Dune, definitely check them out. I think Boom has done so many amazing things. But again, if you're interested in what we're reading next, that is Minor Arcana, Volume 1, The Fool. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Minor Arcana, Volume 1, The Fool.
Awesome.
Or if you want to pick them up individually, issues 1 through 5.
Which actually wouldn't be too hard because that those publications are pretty recent.
Yeah. This is, I want to say 2005. Yeah, 2025, honestly. Yeah. It's a new one.
Yeah,
very new.
So you should be able to find them pretty easily.
And it is book price $17.99 US. I got mine was 5% off with a sticker at the store I got it at, so I mean, hey, not too bad of a price, honestly. You could also probably find it cheaper places as well.
Yeah. I'm
sure.
For sure. All right, Nick, anything you want to close with?
I think that's about it for me, man. I don't have too much else to say. I will probably, if we don't do any more of it for the podcast in the future, I'll probably read some more 1602 at some point in time myself, because I'm kind of curious to see what else it has to do.
I think we can circle back to that. I think that might be cool.
Yeah, I feel like that'll be a good one to come back to at some point, though. So I might wait a little bit.
Nah, I feel you. All right, guys. So remember, if you're not already following the podcast, remember to subscribe wherever you are on your podcast listening to us. If you're on Spotify, go do it through there. But if you're on all your podcatchers, remember to look us up. We are Between Two Panels, formerly the Paper Cuts.
Between Two Panels.
Formerly the Paper Cuts podcast. So you can go ahead and follow us. Just look up Between Two Panels, and we'll be sure to show up. Remember to make sure to follow us on social media. We are both on Blue Sky. Nick, where are you at?
You can find me at Truth About Falling. I'm over there on Blue Sky. I haven't been super active yet, but I'm trying to post things as I see them.
There you go. And I'm at Vestlord. Remember to follow me on there. Check out the show notes for all the links to stuff about the show. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.
Bye-bye, chat. Bye-bye.